Welcome to Lost at 3 a.m. Put your phone down, close your eyes, and let this be the last video you hear tonight. Relax, breathe, and let's begin. Tonight, we embark on a journey through the story of Luke Skywalker, one of the most legendary characters in cinema history. His tale is one of destiny, self-discovery, and redemption, spanning across generations and shaping the very heart of Star Wars. From a simple farm boy on Tatooine to the last hope of the Jedi, Luke's story is more than just a hero's journey. It is a story of overcoming fear, finding purpose, and believing in something greater than yourself. His path wasn't easy. He faced loss, doubt, and the temptation of the dark side, yet he remained true to his ideals, proving that even the smallest spark of hope can change the fate of the galaxy. But Luke's legacy is more than just his victories. It's about the impact he left behind, the students he tried to teach, the battles he fought within himself, and the enduring symbol of hope he became for those who came after him. So tonight, as you close your eyes, imagine looking up at the twin suns of Tatooine, feeling the wind against your face, and dreaming of a future far beyond the horizon, because this is where the story of Luke Skywalker begins. Before he became a Jedi, before he ignited his first lightsaber, before he saved the galaxy, Luke Skywalker was just a boy, living on a desert planet, staring at the horizon, longing for something more. Born the son of Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala, Luke was separated from his twin sister Leia at birth and sent to Tatooine, where he was raised by his uncle Owen and Aunt Beru Lars. They kept the truth of his origins hidden, raising him as a simple moisture farmer, far away from the wars and struggles of the galaxy. Tatooine was harsh, a world of sand, scorching heat, and endless isolation. Luke's life was filled with mundane chores, fixing vaporators, and taking orders from his uncle, who discouraged his dreams of leaving. But deep down, Luke knew he was meant for something greater. He would race his T-16 Skyhopper, look up at the twin suns, and dream of adventure, starships, and a life beyond the dusty wastelands. Everything changed when two droids, R2-D2 and C-3PO, entered his life, carrying a message from Princess Leia and leading him to Obi-Wan Kenobi, a mysterious old hermit who had been watching over him from the shadows. It was Obi-Wan who first told Luke the truth, that his father had been a Jedi Knight, a warrior of peace and justice before the dark times of the Empire. When Luke returned home to find his aunt and uncle murdered by Imperial stormtroopers, his life on Tatooine was over. With nowhere left to turn and destiny calling, he made a choice to leave everything behind and step into the unknown, joining Obi-Wan on a journey to become the hero he was always meant to be. The farm boy from Tatooine was no more. Luke Skywalker's adventure had begun. With his old life on Tatooine behind him, Luke Skywalker stepped into a galaxy much bigger than he ever imagined. But he wasn't a hero yet. He was still just a farm boy, inexperienced, uncertain, and overwhelmed by the war unfolding around him. Guided by Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke began learning about the Force, the mystical energy that connected all living things. Obi-Wan gave him his father's old weapon, a blue lightsaber, a symbol of the Jedi Knights who once protected the galaxy. But for Luke, wielding a lightsaber didn't make him a Jedi. He had a long way to go before he would truly understand what it meant to be strong with the Force. His first real test came aboard the Death Star, the Empire's ultimate weapon. Alongside Han Solo, Chewbacca, and Princess Leia, Luke found himself in the middle of a daring rescue mission. But what started as a victory quickly turned to tragedy. Obi-Wan sacrificed himself, allowing Luke and his friends to escape. With his mentor gone, Luke felt lost, but he held on to the hope that he could still make a difference. Then came the moment that would change everything, the Battle of Yavin. With the Rebel Alliance facing annihilation, Luke joined the assault on the Death Star. As he climbed into an X-Wing starfighter, he was no longer just a dreamer staring at the stars. He was fighting for something bigger than himself. As he sped through the Death Star trench, the voice of Obi-Wan echoed in his mind, Use the Force, Luke. In that moment, Luke made a choice. To trust in something greater than technology, to believe in the Force, to embrace the path of a Jedi. With a single, perfectly placed shot, Luke destroyed the Death Star and secured the first true victory for the rebellion. It was more than just a battle. It was proof that Luke was meant for something greater. He had gone from a farm boy with no direction to a hero of the Rebel Alliance, a name spoken across the galaxy. But his journey was just beginning, because becoming a hero is one thing, becoming a Jedi is something else entirely. Victory at the Battle of Yavin made Luke a hero, but it did not make him a Jedi. He had only just begun to understand the Force, and without guidance, his path forward was uncertain. The war against the Empire continued, and Luke was thrust into battle after battle, growing stronger but still lacking the wisdom of a true Jedi Knight. His greatest test came when he traveled to Dagobah, a remote swamp planet where he met Master Yoda, one of the last surviving Jedi. Yoda was nothing like what Luke expected, a small, eccentric creature who spoke in riddles, but beneath that, he was one of the most powerful and wise Jedi to ever live. Under Yoda's teaching, Luke pushed himself further than ever before, learning to wield the Force in ways he never thought possible. He trained his mind, his reflexes, his patience. But the deeper he went, the more he struggled with his own fears, his anger, his impatience. He wanted to be strong, to become a Jedi as fast as possible, but Yoda warned him, a Jedi's strength flows from peace, not aggression. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Then came his darkest vision. In the depths of Dagobah, Luke faced a haunting test, a vision of himself fighting Darth Vader. In the battle, he struck Vader down, but when the mask shattered, Luke saw his own face staring back at him. It was a terrifying warning. If he wasn't careful, if he let his fear and anger consume him, he could fall to the dark side, just as his father once had. Despite Yoda's warnings, Luke made a fateful choice. He left his training early after sensing that his friends, Leia, Han, and Chewbacca, were in danger. He couldn't stand by while they suffered. Yoda urged him to wait, warning that he was not yet ready to face Vader. But Luke did not listen. He raced to Cloud City, unaware that he was walking straight into a trap. There, he faced Darth Vader for the first time in battle. The duel was brutal. Luke was strong, but he was not ready. Vader toyed with him, outmatched him, and in the end, Luke lost, both the fight and his hand. But what came next was an even greater blow. With cold certainty, Vader revealed the truth. I am your father. Everything Luke believed, everything he had been fighting for, shattered in an instant. The Jedi had told him his father was a great warrior. Obi-Wan had told him that Vader had killed Anakin Skywalker, but now the truth was clear. His greatest enemy was the very person he was meant to become. Devastated, broken, and unsure of who he was, Luke barely escaped Cloud City with his life. His journey as a Jedi had begun with hope, but now he faced something far more difficult, accepting the truth and deciding what kind of Jedi he truly wanted to be. After learning the devastating truth that Darth Vader was his father, Luke Skywalker was left with a choice. He could give in to his anger, his hatred, and seek revenge, or he could find another way. Unlike the Jedi before him, Luke refused to see Vader as just a Sith Lord. He saw the man behind the mask, the fallen Jedi, the father he never knew. Despite his own pain, despite the warnings from Yoda and Obi-Wan, Luke held on to one belief. There was still good in Anakin Skywalker. The galaxy saw Vader as a monster, but Luke saw him as someone who could be saved. But before he could face his father again, Luke had to complete his journey. He returned to Dagobah, seeking Yoda's wisdom one last time. There, he received a painful confirmation. Vader was indeed his father, and he was now the last hope of the Jedi. Yoda warned him that only a fully trained Jedi Knight could defeat the Sith, but before he could say more, he passed away, leaving Luke truly alone. Now it was time to face his destiny. At Jabba the Hutt's palace, Luke showed how much he had grown. No longer the reckless farm boy, he was now a confident, composed Jedi. Wielding the Force with skill and purpose, he saved Han, Leia, and Chewbacca from execution, proving that he had become a true leader. But his greatest challenge still awaited him, confronting his father once more. Luke surrendered himself to the Empire, allowing Vader to take him to the Emperor. Even as they traveled together, Luke pleaded with his father, urging him to let go of the dark side. But Vader, resigned to his fate, coldly told Luke, "It is too late for me, son." On the Death Star, Luke faced his greatest test. Emperor Palpatine, the true mastermind of the Sith, taunted him, trying to lure him into darkness. As the battle raged outside, Palpatine pushed Luke to strike down his father and take his place as a Sith Lord. Vader and Luke dueled once more. This time, Luke was stronger. He matched his father's power, blocking every attack, but he refused to strike first. He still believed his father could be saved. Then Vader discovered Luke's one weakness, his love for Leia. In an instant, he threatened to turn her to the dark side. That was the breaking point. Luke snapped. Fueled by anger, Luke attacked with everything he had, unleashing his power against Vader. Blow after blow, he overwhelmed him, driving him back until finally, in a surge of fury, Luke struck down, severing his father's hand. For a moment, silence. Luke looked at his father, helpless, broken, defeated, and then at his own robotic hand, realizing that he was becoming exactly what the Emperor wanted. And then, he made his choice. He turned away, throwing his lightsaber aside. "I'm a Jedi, like my father before me." Palpatine was furious. Luke had resisted the dark side, but the Emperor wasn't done yet. With a wave of his hands, he unleashed deadly Force lightning, torturing Luke, pushing him to the brink of death. Luke cried out for help, pleading with the only person who could save him, his father. And in that moment, Anakin Skywalker awakened. Darth Vader was no more. The father Luke believed in, the Jedi he always knew still existed, made his choice. He lifted Palpatine into the air and threw him down the reactor shaft, destroying the Sith and fulfilling the prophecy of the Chosen One. But the battle had cost Anakin everything. Mortally wounded, he collapsed, his breathing weak. Luke rushed to his side, but Anakin had one final request: to see his son with his own eyes. For the first and only time, Luke looked into his father's true face, not as a Sith Lord, but as Anakin Skywalker, redeemed at last. He smiled, at peace, and as he took his final breath, Luke knew he had saved his father, and with him, the entire galaxy. Luke Skywalker had not won by fighting, he had won by believing, and in doing so, he became the greatest Jedi of them all. With the fall of the Empire, Luke Skywalker had fulfilled his destiny. He had redeemed his father, destroyed the Sith, and restored peace to the galaxy. But his journey wasn't over. Now Luke faced an even greater challenge, rebuilding the Jedi Order. The Jedi had been nearly wiped out during the Clone Wars, and Luke was now the last of his kind. But he wasn't content with being the only Jedi. He believed in passing on what he had learned, training a new generation of Force users to protect the balance of the galaxy. For years, Luke searched for ancient Jedi knowledge, traveling across the galaxy, studying lost temples, and seeking the wisdom of those who came before him. He was no longer just a warrior. He was a teacher, a scholar, and the one responsible for shaping the future of the Jedi Order. Eventually, he founded a new Jedi Academy, training young students in the ways of the Force. Among them was his nephew, Ben Solo, the son of Han Solo and Leia Organa. Luke saw great potential in Ben, believing he could be the next great Jedi. But darkness was still lurking in the galaxy. The spirit of Emperor Palpatine, long thought to be destroyed, was manipulating events from the shadows. Through his influence, Ben Solo was seduced by the dark side, becoming Kylo Ren, the apprentice of the mysterious Supreme Leader Snoke. And then, in a single moment, everything fell apart. One night, sensing the growing darkness within Ben, Luke saw a vision, an image of the destruction Ben would bring, the pain he would cause. For a fleeting second, Luke ignited his lightsaber, considering ending the threat before it began. But as quickly as the thought appeared, it vanished. Luke could not kill his own nephew, but it was too late. Ben awoke to see his master standing over him with a weapon drawn, and in that moment, his fate was sealed. Believing Luke had betrayed him, Ben destroyed the Jedi Temple, killed the other students, and fully embraced the dark side. Luke had lost everything: his Jedi Order, his faith in himself, and his belief that he could rebuild what had been lost. Racked with guilt and shame, Luke did something no Jedi had ever done before. He walked away. He exiled himself to Uchto, the site of the first Jedi Temple, determined to let the Jedi die with him. He had spent his whole life believing he could bring back the Jedi, but now he saw their failures, their arrogance, their blindness, their role in the rise of the Empire. Maybe the Jedi weren't the answer. Maybe the galaxy was better off without them. For years, he lived alone, disconnected from the Force, a legend that had faded into myth. The galaxy believed he was gone, and Luke wanted it that way. But the galaxy wasn't done with Luke Skywalker. A new Jedi was about to come knocking on his door, and whether he liked it or not, his story was far from over. For years, Luke Skywalker had vanished, hiding away on Uchto, the first Jedi Temple, believing the Jedi should end. He had become a broken man, haunted by his failure with Ben Solo, convinced that his legacy had done more harm than good. Then came Rey, a young woman strong in the Force, seeking his help. She arrived with hope, determination, and a deep belief in the legend of Luke Skywalker. But the man she found was not the hero she had imagined. Luke had once been the galaxy's greatest optimist, but now he refused to train her. He had cut himself off from the Force, believing that the Jedi's history was one of failure, arrogance, and destruction. He saw himself as just another Jedi who had made the same mistakes. He had trained an apprentice only to watch him fall to the dark side. But Rey refused to give up on him. Despite Luke's resistance, she trained on Uchto, pushing herself to understand the Force. She felt its presence all around her, but when she reached into the darkness beneath the island, Luke realized something. She was powerful, maybe too powerful. It reminded him of Ben Solo, of how easily strength could lead to darkness. Eventually, Luke opened up. He shared the truth about his greatest failure, the moment he stood over Ben Solo with his lightsaber, thinking for an instant about preventing the darkness before it began. That hesitation, that moment of weakness, led to the destruction of everything he had built. Luke had convinced himself he was beyond redemption, that he had no place in the fight anymore. But Rey saw something different. She saw a man who still had the power to inspire hope, a man who could still make a difference. She begged him to return, to stand with the resistance, but Luke refused. He truly believed the galaxy no longer needed him. Then came the spark that changed everything. Luke's old friend Yoda appeared to him, a Force ghost from beyond, reminding him of something he had forgotten. Failure is the greatest teacher. The Jedi weren't about power or legacy. They were about learning, growing, and continuing forward, even after falling. With renewed understanding, Luke made his final choice, not to be a warrior, but to be what the galaxy needed most, a symbol of hope. As the Resistance was cornered on Crate, Luke projected himself across the galaxy using the Force, appearing before the First Order as the legend everyone believed him to be. He faced Kylo Ren, standing tall as the Jedi Master he had once been, giving the Resistance time to escape. As Kylo struck him down, he realized too late. Luke wasn't really there. He had fought a battle without ever lifting a weapon, using the Force in a way no Jedi had before. He had outsmarted the entire First Order, proving that hope and wisdom were stronger than rage and war. Exhausted, knowing his time had come, Luke looked out at the twin suns of Uchto, just as he had once done on Tatooine as a young boy, dreaming of adventure. And with that final breath, he became one with the Force, leaving behind a legend that would never fade. Luke Skywalker wasn't just the last Jedi. He was the spark that would reignite the galaxy's hope. Even after his passing, Luke Skywalker's presence continued to shape the galaxy. His actions didn't just impact those around him, they inspired a new generation, proving that legends never truly die. The Resistance carried on because of him. His sacrifice on Crate gave Leia and her fighters the chance to escape, and the story of Luke's stand against the First Order spread across the galaxy. He had become more than just a Jedi. He had become a myth, a beacon of hope in a time of darkness. For Rey, Luke's influence was even greater. Though he had refused to train her at first, his teachings stayed with her. She carried the wisdom of the Jedi forward, understanding that being a Jedi wasn't about power, but about balance, self-discovery, and choosing the light even when it was difficult. When she finally faced Emperor Palpatine, it was Luke's guidance, his unwavering belief in her, that helped her stand strong. But Luke's story didn't end there. He returned as a Force ghost, much like Obi-Wan and Yoda before him. He appeared to Rey on Ahch-To, offering one last lesson, proving that even in death, he was still there to guide those who needed him. He had once believed the Jedi should end, but in his final moments, he had rediscovered the truth. The Jedi weren't about legacy or bloodlines. They were about hope, about fighting for what was right, about never giving up. His legacy extended beyond Rey. Across the galaxy, whispers of the last Jedi's final battle spread, inspiring Force-sensitive individuals to believe that maybe, just maybe, they too could rise up and make a difference. Luke had reignited the spark that had been lost, proving that heroes are not measured by their power, but by the hope they leave behind. Luke Skywalker's journey may have ended, but his influence remains eternal. He was the boy who dreamed of adventure, the Jedi who faced his darkest fears, the legend who saved the galaxy, and the symbol that would never fade. It's impossible to talk about Luke Skywalker without acknowledging the incredible performance of Mark Hamill, the actor who brought the character to life. Mark Hamill didn't just play Luke, he became the heart and soul of the character, shaping him into one of the most beloved heroes in cinematic history. When he was cast as Luke in Star Wars: A New Hope, Hamill was an unknown actor, but he brought a genuine sense of innocence, wonder, and hope to the role. As a young farm boy on Tatooine, Hamill captured the essence of a dreamer longing for something greater. He made Luke feel real, a character who was relatable, flawed, and courageous. Throughout the original trilogy, Hamill's performance evolved alongside Luke's journey. In The Empire Strikes Back, Hamill showed us Luke's inner struggles, the weight of responsibility, the pull of the dark side, and the crushing revelation that Darth Vader was his father. The raw emotion Hamill brought to the scene in Cloud City, where he screamed, "No, that's not true, that's impossible," remains one of the most iconic moments in film history. By the time of Return of the Jedi, Hamill had transformed Luke into a confident, composed Jedi Knight. He showed us a character who had grown from an idealistic farm boy into a wise hero, willing to face the Emperor and redeem his father. Hamill's performance in the final confrontation with Vader and Palpatine captured the strength, compassion, and unwavering resolve that defined Luke Skywalker. Decades later, Hamill returned to the role in The Last Jedi, showing us a different side of Luke, a broken, disillusioned man who had lost faith in himself. While some fans were divided over this portrayal, Hamill's performance was undeniably powerful, adding new depth and complexity to the character. He gave us a Luke who was human, flawed, and haunted by regret, but ultimately found his way back to hope and heroism. Hamill's portrayal of Luke Skywalker has inspired generations of fans around the world. His connection to the character goes beyond the screen. Mark Hamill has always embraced his role as Luke, engaging with fans, championing kindness, and becoming a real-life symbol of hope and positivity. Luke Skywalker's story might be a work of fiction, but Mark Hamill's performance made it feel real, turning Luke into an icon, a legend, and a hero who will always be remembered. It's not just the character's journey, it's the heart and humanity that Hamill brought to the role that has made Luke Skywalker a hero for all time. As Hamill himself once said, "The Force is strong in all of us." And thanks to him, Luke Skywalker's story continues to inspire generations to believe in hope, redemption, and the power of choosing the light. Luke Skywalker's journey is more than just the story of Star Wars. It's the story of hope, perseverance, and the choice to stand against darkness, no matter the odds. From the moment he looked up at the twin suns of Tatooine, longing for something greater, to his final stand as a legend who reignited hope in the galaxy, Luke's story is one that resonates across generations. He wasn't perfect. He made mistakes. He doubted himself. He failed. But that's what makes him one of the most relatable heroes of all time. He wasn't a flawless warrior. He was a person who had to fight for his own belief in the light. He showed us that being a Jedi wasn't about power or bloodlines, but about compassion, selflessness, and the willingness to keep going even in the face of darkness. Luke didn't win by being the strongest. He didn't defeat the Empire with brute force. He won by believing in the good within others, even when no one else did. He saw the humanity in his father when the entire galaxy saw a monster. He chose mercy over revenge. He refused to let the Jedi be defined by their failures. And in the end, he became something greater than a warrior. He became a symbol, a legend, and the hope that would inspire the next generation. Even after his passing, Luke Skywalker's legacy continues. Rey carries his teachings forward. The Resistance fights on because of the hope he restored. And across the galaxy, the myth of the Last Jedi lives on. He started as just a farm boy on a desert planet, but his journey proved that anyone can rise above their past, find their purpose, and change the course of history. Luke Skywalker will always be one of the greatest heroes in cinema history, not because he was powerful, but because he chose to be good. As you close your eyes tonight, imagine standing on the sands of Tatooine, looking up at the twin suns, dreaming of adventure. Because in the end, Luke Skywalker's greatest lesson is this: the Force is within all of us, and hope is never truly lost. Thank you for spending your night with Lost at 3 a.m. Sweet dreams, and we'll see you next time.